Banish the fear, 'twere infamy to yield to folly what to force had been denied, or in the Senate quail before the tide we should have stemmed and routed in the field. What though no more we brandish sword and shield, reason's keen blade is ready at our side, and manly brains in wisdom panoplied can foil the shafts that treacherous sophists wield. The spirit of our fathers is not quelled, with weapons valid even as those they bore, domain, throne, altar, still may be upheld. So we disdain, as they disdained of yore, the foreign froth that foams against our shore, only by its white cliffs to be repelled. Those were the stirring words of Alfred Austin from the poem Why England is Conservative, published in 1891. Well, you all approve of the sentiment. The remainder of this reading, I'm just going to do the miscellany of stuff. Starting with 3 sonnets. Rotenbuck's Comparison. Stalled on a charger somewhere north of the border, fly masterless, its sable confusion harness up. Sad crawler goes spangled with starry phonograph, stretching a web me over to tumble down slope, cleft where leathern bucklers. Some sequins around snouts then, no more charging turned white and leering sideboard crowd in plain sail at flood's knell. Fly north somewhere, there to adorn hoof and a horse thing in verdant transmission towers' roomy shade. It was a miracle you got here, but uncertain scrapbooks. Ah, come here, stale world's range. He, float restless, my brother frond. A flute basin shouts, coins snore, lodestar lights dancers wry wasp rage. Morph, cheap thing, brow ever on stage, but elect from Woden's heart. Pen hotel well, subclerk. In some, Queen Toad's sun sours when not reaching under tiger moth. Crowned and reigning, I despoil drab allies or offend hot hell's weary monks. Tell heathen dragons to refrain, hit no hood anywhere. A Roman sordidness vomits taunts to waste your claim. Heart, I beg you. A Sputnik crooner's ABC. All done, regress home. A watcher bored of thorny shell-stem rafters at each nun's bison fossil. Roots glow, creased with astral gas. Nerds pry into proven growth graphemes. Beach bums clown there, wet. Later, Flo telephoned, read Kay's club. So Mason's seen squid outrun winter tuna, drenching Homer. He got nailed and slid in gasoline. Crowbar pry, omerta, fools. Nylon herd left whelks rotting on the shore. If no head, a hand or hairy antennas odor. Most voters is worms, but all my stoical Euro heritage. Song from a Mothshire lad. The lads in their hair-streaked to lobster calamia virens. There's Manistra Burnett companion, the malachite fold. The lads for the Lepidoptera are there. By Voltainer's larvae it bursts through, will never be old. There's cabbage engrailed, ill, cart. Many to count, short-cloaked, blue, and many the shoulder of face, hamp, ear. Few that will fly strongly around hedgerows. This is a tubular structure, and it is actually composed of 2 horny strips which are deeply grooved on the inner surface. The 2 halves are linked together by numerous minute hooks, and the 2 grooves come together to form. But now, nothing. Brushing unguessed at. Back bright to the die in their glow. On the previous occasion I read this next poem was in the vicinity of a train toilet. Moloch as a blithe pander. Up in mist, Ice Jim bestrides a torpid reef amassed by one family ego. Rope dip on liminal manhunt, mend whiskey fund, recycle neon waste or die soon. When tanned, propertied men undo law, adorned abuses occur, Cupid moves ennui, FBI search teams enter Elftown, a harsh noir haven girt with voids, your dim slavish paramour. Invasive ones command death's lewd oasis, make ghoulish mirages trend, chatted trash. Chemical warlord aborted, now hoof idly to the solar crater, tune fugal lilies to hooped 11ths, reform terror's bases. Avoiding fake doorbells, steeds rove beside hunched vassals, bleed sick identity. Destruction etudes, cold saturnine echoes fall on our toy genome's rune. Swan ship sails over bamboo seas. A flue tuber spews rune in bird's eye, third volt in tight warfare, shit's image rethought. Hide in my aorta's scenic south, 2 days maybe until weary toil pays. None hued in a flower, grisly inferno, killing Twitter's worst anaconda as shields crumpled. Here he is oven hot, God without a face. Roundel found in a lacquered box. A swordstick was swung in the hall of the Colonel's club, armless or aimed in superfluous twitches of tongue, with peacock and ostrich and foreflush of scar-fractured stub, a swordstick was swung. Assembled in rows in the room where the catches were sung, svelte knaves scorched their innards with gulps from a slime-frosted tub, refusing to leave until venomed of liver or shriveled of lung. Heroics were waved in the lamplight of straggling scrub, when, flailing in spirals, its petulant discords among, like to the squirm of the insolent stag-beetle grub, a swordstick was swung. With adable red. Earth, I must have a symbolic, at the great, at those fresh hats, and bought the latest fresh hats. Bold price war made them pine, dial bicycle polo for a farm joy. The ruined palaces of anodyne, of old revolutionary aesthetic, never of corridors on the eve, gazing, it a sheer electoral gaze, flat text only, known plain text, grass on indeterminate window. It snows. Men throw dice there, mined for blonde nights, no mice. Discourse is fresh modern hats, days and no nights in bland dice. Then whose images of Marys? Indeed, US prices bar future. Indeed, US prices rest typically. Indeed, US prices bloom exequial, thickens, pecked in sleep's gutter of singing, speech, muzak, earth. Parliamentary interview. If there are no further points of order, we come to the 10-minute rule bill, for which the Right Hon. Member for Blackburn, Mr. Straw, has been patiently waiting. 13 Sep 2011, column 896, motor insurance regulation. Motion for leave to bring in a bill, standing order number 23, 3:39 p.m. Mr. Jack Straw, Blackburn, Lamb. I beg to move that leave be given to bring in a bill to reform the regulation and operation of the market in motor insurance, and specifically to ban the payment of referral fees, to establish new standards relating to the evidence required and damages payable for whiplash, to reform the pre-action protocol for personal injury claims in road traffic accidents, to set requirements in respect of risk pricing for personal injury claims, and for connected purposes. The last time I had a 10-minute rule bill was as a young and callow backbencher. Sadiq Khan, tooting, lad, you still are, Jack. Mr. Straw, thank you. Song from a Waspshire lad. Is my Toronid phytophagus that I was used to feed, consuming virtually the entire contents of the seed? I, the hornets, gamble in a hymenopteron void, no change though you lie under the hyperparasitoid. Do not empty the net, since the insects will escape. In hot, humid conditions, I stand up. I, the gall is flying, allaying fey lights. Go up, up. I am deeply annoyed by this as well. Why is my wasp now the size of a fuliginous firefly? It's not just that they decreased the size, but that they decreased the size so much that it's now smaller than every other flying pet except for the seagull. What was the point of this? A few people didn't like it, but the majority of us, to weep. Sleep. To sleep. Yes, lads, I cheer a dead man, Hofmeyr, E.B., 1931, Entomologische Notizen. Unless Consumo. Data where youth hop, a typical ore, dogs who hire dogs to drown their dogs in wells, a colony constricted by a claw, gone to check on the protocols of cells. Edit type or transition. This may be a standing member of the Politburo, 1590, 22, 63, between gradation and chiaroscuro. On now, Zita Johann in The Struggle. Remember when leveling hate at apes, orangutans taught Betjeman to juggle. While they're doing this, rewind the tapes. Next week, Zita Johann in The Mummy, L'amour, toujours l'amour in the army. Jirel meets magic after C.L. Moore. C.L. Moore was one of the main female contributors to Weird Tales magazine in the 1930s. Battle machine, a door handle, shouting, door-studded trance, calmed, crest slashed, arch-treading crystal space, lifeless stairway, door-studded, reeled flat, her fallen, her failed, faltering doorways. Drawbridge voice thundered, fallen. Which mirror, which dimmed sparks shift, blazed faintly at door angles, a queer dance, into other and times and through, not into, but had emerged as doors slammed. A two-note held to its white arms dropped, walled doors light needles like, white mirrored planes once crossed, swept twice under, over the doorsill sprawled. Fern forest, red rock strewn shapeless, of other doors seams open, ranged out. Silence harped still, instinct with still flame's sphere, and blade-like, a door each voice struck. That to a human, to be frozen into. Each act, hand, cracked door ceased in long rents, in her sight reached. Day-lit of marble blocks which held the gate. On the rhinocerine, vain to forget the fort. Some cold day room is the moonlit snowboard of the high alphabet to which I go not yester even. A granulocitosis of the veined griff, dented an iron kite, split from lotic misprint, whose thought wave snapped me not. Phi burliest desperado. Ahead, let thousand weight evade this brimmed rhinoscope, and that true flapper, a linear mountebank, sheet-like, violent, in the look of the slow-sinking, sunken fence. Angular, low-contrast compositions beam on my vertical takeoff aircraft, effluence, eyelashes, soft host shops, the GDR equivalent of CinemaScope, too loveless to be grey. Ah, quietism, all think pieces flee thy lab, in blue holes, toothless, once. The leading horror specialist, their hysterical trace. Heat wave ossuary, Neuter clavier, glacial. Lines go out. Brass veil of those, tuneless without lines. Peel or pin, guards ogle axes, packs gunboat. The sutured onus turns, describes curve. Lunar fraud, whole saline lapse, alarmed soul tormentor, tangled. A deadened payee's trunk slams for lark combat where stream flanks. Heat qua null, his chord isle less breath, mid palms attuned, a robot garçon who, anemic, burnt full tanks. How codes seem, though crossed in thickness. Sent out mute, erupt armory's mask turns ulcerate, and ash leaps the pin's sear eyelid. Jet, mimes give ear, scream camera, or camera screams lines. The curve of iced veins, monogrammed in iron chests, navel or not lost. Found at noon, as they would have been, in the still hot port, turned on low cloud. Leaden, sun-sick, lutes, bones, and vines ring, two gilt lanterns struck. Tired chorus whose clock face turns in a tongue none knew. Debt's song, strung to haunt beaks, mar tulle shrouds with slutched claws, annex stripped coils in sculpted glints, sounds yet starboard. To go in the dark to the lines, to the blanched voice, where hail raps, where red coals glow, where ants mine the last vault's anticline. An unnetworked room, blood's sprite, the time lip, arching, vulpine, rhythm, retrocognitive, skirts, heats, rays. And finally, seen from the developed world, she threw flower wreaths. A shut mall on an eel-shaped aisle, adds for sand, tiles, sanatoria, indoor allergens. Shut in a casket, in a hinge, Polly, cried Polly, assembling soundless feathers to fix installed air. The mall was up early, still cranial, yet shut and sticking, stuck. Perched with a lute on a grey crate's edge, a merman sang of a fairy ring. But all the fairies are dust mites. The merman is a cockroach, Polly a hinge, the isle an anhedonic howl. Thank you.